Hi everyone, this is Sam from Gamereactor and we're here at IEM Katowice with Coca-Cola Zero Sugar covering the Heroes of the Storm and StarCraft, and we're here with the production team, the Heroes and Heroes of the Storm. Claudio, what have you thought of the event so far?
It's been amazing. The games have been going nice and long. Everyone really excited about Probius and some of the other UI features we announced yesterday, so lots of questions and fervor to find out what's happening.
How have you found the feedback to Probius? You say it's been good, but what have people said so far?
Lots of surprise. I think that we really caught people off guard with him. There's a lot of calling for another mage-type hero, and this is kind of an unexpected take on how you can do it. It's a very unique hero within even Heroes of the Storm, so I think people want to get him on PTR in a couple days and see what it's about.
Cool. So we've heard by now who Probius is, how he works, but why? What was the motivation behind him?
Yeah, Probius, we transitioned certain people onto our team at various points, so as StarCraft is kind of winding down, we actually acquired one of their very talented level designers who plays a lot of MOBA type games, and so his name's Matt Villers, and he worked on all 3 previous StarCraft games. He came over as a hero designer to our team, and it was a very natural start for him to jump into something very familiar. And we kind of had some ideas for Probius a couple years ago, and they just never really worked out, and so we kind of tabled him, and then we said, let's try and resurrect him now, it's the right time, and he just took off with it, and it was a great success, I think.
How important is visuals when you're looking at a new hero? Obviously you got to work out how they play, but in terms of visuals, how important is that?
They're extremely important. When you have as much going on in our game, as much brawling and ARAMing in the middle of the map and whatever, it's very important. We talk about silhouette a lot with our art team, ways to select heroes or curve them in such a way that they look different than other heroes. So we have challenges with this with orcs, because we have quite a few orcs, so a lot of them look very different, and then sometimes the skins we'll make for them will be even more to push them apart from each other. And Probius there's nothing like him, right? So he's very small, he doesn't ride a mount, and it was another very easy thing that kind of guided us into choosing him.
Overwatch's Lucio has just been put in the game, well, not just been put in the game, recently been put in the game. How important is it, or what do you think of doing when you're putting other game heroes into your game?
Yeah, Overwatch heroes are definitely a challenge. We work a lot with the Overwatch team when we want to bring a hero in. There's a lot of collaboration beforehand, because a lot of times we're seeking ideas for what the second heroic ability will be for a hero like Lucio in our game, and so we talked to them and say, did they have any near successes with them, and they just ended up going with something like Sound Barrier in their game for a certain reason. And so sometimes we can swipe ideas or modify ideas based on that, but integrating those types of heroes, especially from Overwatch, can be challenging just depending on which ones we're choosing, so we try and be very selective. Heroes like Pharah, going vertical, in a MOBA, not really something you do a lot of, and maybe we could do it, but heroes like Lucio, wall ride, we thought would be pretty challenging, but Nathan Lamouget, who's the hero designer for him, just knocked it out. It works terrific. I don't know if you've had a chance to play him, but it works kind of exactly how you would want it to feel in the game, so did a great job with it.
How does esports influence hero design?
Esports has it has a definite impact. Esports, I would say, has more influence on our live design team that does balance, because they're a very reactive team. They have the opportunity to change the game in ways that influences esports in particular. We can see every weekend in HGC what the various regions are picking, how they're using things, and what the most popular heroes are, and if there's exorbitant win rates for specific heroes that we maybe just don't see on live a whole lot, but it's happening and it's problematic in HGC, then we can make adjustments. But hero designers, when we do sit down and we talk about making a hero like Probius or bringing Lucio into the game, we're we need another support hero to free people up. We want another type of burst mage that can control the situation. The hero designers will keep that in mind and design through that path, but it can be 6 or 7 months before that hero actually gets put into the game, so that's too much time than obviously being able to make a live reaction and ship it in a couple patches.
Do you get concerned when heroes aren't chosen particularly often in competitive play or in tournaments by pro teams?
I wouldn't say we get concerned. I'd say sad is the bigger word, but luckily we have control over that, and the ability to adjust heroes and try and bring them into the meta, or try and just put our light touches on it to see if we can get players to start choosing them. Tychus, for example, wasn't a very popular hero for a pretty long time, but when we did a talent update for him, we repositioned him as like kind of the tank buster, and now he's maybe a bit overly successful with that role, and so we're making adjustments to that. But that's a great example of how we can react and try and swing maybe unpopular heroes in competitive and try and bring them in.
A lot of changes happened since Heroes first started off way back when. What would you say, how do you feel about Heroes of the Storm now compared to what it had been before?
It's come a tremendous way, like just getting competitive, like with Hero League and Team League into the game, like that was a pretty recent change for us. Getting bans, it's just a lot. There's been a lot changing. There's a lot more coming. Like we're getting party frames right now, obviously, new heroes all the time, and there's a big storm building of new stuff that's coming as well that I can't really go into that is going to drive the game even further.
How does the HGC play into this future?
That's probably a better question for Sam. I mean, having just gotten HGC stood up at this point, it's done great things for viewership, like the consistency of being able to deliver content every single weekend, organize clashes like this Western one, we'll have an Eastern one, we'll have that global clash, and tying it all together through BlizzCon. I think that it's just driving engagement with the game. Players are watching more content, they're playing more, like everything is just succeeding from that.
You mentioned updates about user experience and user interface. Is that an important aspect for you to consider when developing updates?
Yeah, very much so. The team that's responsible for that is broken up into specific feature teams, and they do the work on the Battleground UI. They do it for the heroes that have new UI when they ship. They make updates to the shop or the tab screen or party frames. They do all these things. So it's an insanely busy team, an insanely talented team, and those updates they're terrific updates because something like party frames, it impacts everyone who touches the game. So other games have that feature. They come to our game, they play it, and they miss it or they want it, and so we hear that feedback. We put it on our long list of things we want to get to, and that's just one we were able to prioritize and kind of sneak in here, and we have a lot more plans for it in the future, but that's a great example that everyone can benefit from a feature like that when we bring it in.
Can you run us through the design process when designing a new hero? What comes first and what comes last, if there is even a consistent plan?
Yeah, there's definitely a consistent plan. So selecting the hero is obviously the most important. And often what we'll do is I'll sit down with leadership and organize meetings. So we'll have game director, production director, marketing director, lead hero designer, lead game designer. We'll bring all these people in, and we'll kind of talk about what our plan is for a specific year. So, for example, for this year, like we know people wanted more, support heroes and stuff. So we specifically target like moments through the year. So we don't want to release like 4 at once if we can avoid it or whatever. We'll just space them out. So we got Lucio out. We have another one coming in a couple patches, and we use that feedback from the community to kind of drive the conversation. It can be a little challenging because our hero development pipeline takes like 6 months to make a hero, and we'll be making between like 4 and 6 heroes at a time. And so when the community gets really angry about not enough, it's too many Warcraft heroes, too many Starcraft heroes, one Overwatch heroes, we look at it and we go, okay, well, none of those things are things we're working on right now, so I guess we'll try and make those the things that come right after what we're working on. So our plan, we can definitely shift our plan around, but we do try and kind of block out what we think people want for a year, and that's a mix of IP and role and just, look, silhouette, all that stuff. We want to give a very different experience with each hero we deliver.
Do esports team have an input in the heroes you choose?
Not so much. I mean, we have like Alan DeBeer, who's like our game director. He's tied into the whole group, so he hears input from everywhere, probably even further than we do. But when we we don't specifically say like esports, what do you want? What we do is we survey the whole team and say like, what is the team most passionate about? And we'll take that information and we'll kind of tally up the number of like first place votes and second and third place votes, and then we use that to seed heroes to the top to say, oh, people really want another Warcraft, support hero or whatever. Which one are they saying? And it's like, oh, they're between these two, and we'll look at that and we'll say, well, that's just another orc, or that's just another druid or whatever. And so we'll use that information to kind of pick with the leadership and say we're gonna go with another orc this time or whatever it is, and that's how we usually narrow it down. And the team, when the team's passionate, we usually get the best product like out to the players, and I think that kind of comes through with heroes like Lucio and other recent ones.
Going back to Probius, how is he going to change the game?
He's a very defensive hero, so some heroes are good at defending. Ragnaros is a recent example of that with Molten Core. He can use it. It's actually a pretty decent comparison because it's a very good defensive ability, but once you kind of start breaking ground on your enemy, you can start making an offensive ability too. Probius is kind of similar. It's easy to tuck pylons into your area by your, your outer town, and they can't be killed, so he gets easy mana regeneration and stuff. But and it's easy to power up his photon cannons, but it's a little more challenging to start pushing out with them because if his pylons get killed, he can't regenerate mana and he loses pushing power. So depending on how the enemy's combating him, once you start breaking ground and you can start putting those warp rifts and stuff in the gates where heroes need to come out and you're pushing with it, if your team's with you, at some point they're going to have to come back out through that space, and they know that he's either going to blow it up and do a ton of damage, or they're going to be really slow when they come out, and then your allies can target him more easily. So he's a setup mage, so AoE burst damage with area control, it's going to be good on a lot of maps, and I think that we're going to see in a couple of days how people are going to do with it.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.